Welcome to the Red Story, and just subscribe so I understand that everything is not in vain. Make some tea or coffee and listen to our new story. When the bells went silent. Outside, a gentle snow drifted down onto the rolling hills of upstate New York, far from the hustle of city life. It was just a few days before Christmas, and our rented country home gleamed with holiday lights and decorations. We had invited friends over for a 3-day celebration. People we'd known for years, some even flying in from different parts of the country. I, Andrew Miller, never cared much for large gatherings, but my wife Jessica insisted it would be fun, memorable. After all, we've been married for over 11 years and had a 4-year-old son, Daniel. Our life seemed so perfect. Stable careers, a cozy home in Boston, weekend trips, and holidays like this one. I never questioned anything. Why would I? Jessica was a loving wife, a wonderful mother, and as far as I knew, devoted to our family. On the second evening of the 3-day festivity, the living room was alive with laughter. People chatted around the stone fireplace, its flames dancing on wreaths and garlands. The scent of mulled wine, pine, and fresh cookies filled the air. Friends lounged on plush armchairs, sipping eggnog and trading stories from old college days. I drifted among them, offering smiles and occasional quips. Jessica, radiant in a deep green sweater and jeans, moved gracefully between groups, making sure everyone had enough to eat and drink. Her dark hair fell in soft waves, and her eyes sparkled with what I believed was genuine happiness. Our cottage rental was large enough to host them all, with several bedrooms upstairs. It was rustic yet modern. Exposed wooden beams, polished floors, tasteful art. Outside, tall evergreens bent under the snow's weight. Inside, holiday lights cast warm glows on wooden surfaces. The atmosphere made me feel lucky. Lucky to have a stable marriage, a healthy child safe in bed upstairs, and a loving partner. But on that second evening, I made a mistake. I drank too much spiked cider. The warmth in my stomach turned heavy, and the voices in the room blurred. Around midnight, I excused myself, weaving through guests and quietly heading upstairs. The corridor was dim, lit only by a small sconce. I found our bedroom and fell onto the king-sized bed. The comforter smelled of lavender, and I planned just a short rest before returning to the party. My eyelids drooped, and I drifted in a half-doze, lulled by muffled laughter downstairs. After what felt like an hour, I heard giggles and shushing noises coming up the stairs. Footsteps halted near the guest room next to ours. I recognized Jessica's voice and her best friend Laura. They were tipsy, their voices slurred but excited. "Shall," Laura whispered. "Andrew's probably asleep." Jessica giggled softly. "He drank too much," she murmured, sounding carefree. I lay still, eyes closed, not wanting to startle them. Curiosity flickered. What were they doing upstairs? They entered the adjacent guest room. The walls here were thin, old construction, perhaps, and I could hear them as if they were in the same room. "Oh my God!" Laura, Jessica sighed. "I can't stop thinking about him." I frowned in confusion. "Him who?" Laura teased, "Still hung up on that guy? You've been going on about him for years." Years. My heart gave a painful thump. I forced myself to remain silent, breathing slowly. Jessica lowered her voice, but I could still catch every word. "He's so, big and intense. Remember that trip 3 years ago when I said I had a 3-day conference in the next state? It wasn't a conference. I met him at a hotel. We had the most incredible sex. I can't forget it. I've tried, but every time Andrew believes my stories, I feel a guilty thrill. It's been going on for a long time." A chill ran through my spine. My wife, my Jessica, speaking so casually about a long-term affair. I bit my lip until I tasted blood, trying not to gasp. She'd lied to me, leaving me at home with our toddler, trusting her on work trips. She craved another man who had a wife, who was away now. She missed him and wanted him here. My chest tightened as if a vice gripped it. Laura's tone was curious, almost amused. "Does Andrew suspect anything?" Jessica let out a soft laugh. "No, he's clueless. He's too kind, too trusting. We have a great life, Good sex even, but I need more excitement. He never checks my stories, never questions my late outings. He's sweet but naive. I lay there, paralyzed. The air felt heavy, and the darkness pressed in. My mind whirled with disbelief, anger, humiliation. 3 years at least, multiple affairs. My whole marriage a lie. They continued chatting, Laura admitting to her own affairs too, as if trading confidences over wine. They were amused, conspiratorial. I wanted to scream, to confront them, but something deep in my psyche held me back. Drunk, shocked, and wounded, I waited. Eventually, they stumbled out, giggling their way back downstairs to rejoin the party. When I was sure they'd gone, I sat up. My head spun. I stared at the dark ceiling, tears of rage burning my eyes. I had to get out of here. I dressed in trembling haste. My heart hammered as I quietly opened the window. The room was on the second floor, but a wide porch roof was beneath. I climbed onto it, the icy wind biting my face, then jumped down onto snowy ground. I didn't even think about safety. I just needed distance, needed to escape that den of lies. Stumbling through darkness, I found my car. The keys in my pocket felt cold in my hand. Still slightly drunk, definitely in shock, I started the engine and drove away into the silent winter night. The roads were empty. My mind replayed her words over and over, each time twisting a knife deeper into my soul. I ended up at my parents' house by dawn. They'd lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood, their home modest and warm. I hadn't planned to come here, but instinct led me to the one safe place I knew. I parked in their driveway, still in my coat, breath ragged. Inside, my elderly father and mother startled awake to find me pacing in their living room, cheeks flushed with tears and frost. Without full detail, I told them everything. My father's face darkened with fury and sadness. My mother sobbed softly in the kitchen, muttering how she never imagined Jessica could do this. They urged me to stay, to rest in my old bedroom. Surrounded by childhood posters and memories, I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. Rage, betrayal, and despair churned in my gut. The next morning, I turned on my phone. Dozens of missed calls and messages from Jessica lit the screen. Where are you? The guests are leaving, and you vanished. Please, talk to me. I felt sick just reading them. She dared to play the concerned wife? I ignored her attempts and instead dialed a lawyer's number. My father had given me a contact for a reputable family attorney, someone experienced, discreet, and unyielding. The lawyer listened calmly as I outlined the betrayal, the deceit, the possible long-standing affair. He asked me if I had proof. I told him about overhearing everything. He advised me to gather more evidence if possible, but what I heard was quite damning already. He mentioned we could request a paternity test for our 4-year-old son, Daniel, if I doubted his parentage. My stomach clenched. Could I face that truth too? After the call, my father put a hand on my shoulder. Son, you have every right to be furious, but be methodical. Don't let anger rule you. You have a child to think about. You deserve happiness, even after this. I nodded stiffly, tears threatening but not falling. I'll handle this, I said. I'll be strong for Daniel. I'll do what's right. Later that afternoon, I drove back to the countryside cabin, where Jessica awaited. My hands gripped the steering wheel until knuckles whitened. I was sober now, resolute. The holiday atmosphere in that cabin would be tainted forever in my memory, but I needed to face her. The party had ended, guests gone. She must have found my empty bed that morning, panicked at my disappearance. Inside, I found her in the living room, pacing anxiously near the fireplace, which had gone cold. She wore a thick sweater and jeans, hair pulled back hastily, eyes red as if she'd been crying. When I stepped through the doorway, her voice cracked. Where have you been? You scared me. I folded my arms. The room smelled faintly of pine and leftover mulled wine, now stale. I needed time to think. I said, voice low but steady. She rushed to me, tears brimming, trying to touch my arm. Andrew, please, what happened? Why did you leave without a word? I stepped back, avoiding her hand. I know everything, I said bluntly. I know about your lover. I know about that hotel trip 3 years ago. I know how you mocked me, called me naive. I overheard you and Laura last night when you thought I was passed out. You've been cheating on me for years, haven't you? Her face went white, eyes darting about like a trapped animal. I was drunk. I didn't mean those words. It's not what you think. I let out a harsh laugh. Not what I think. You described his body, your cravings for him, how I never suspect a thing. You lied about business trips. Don't insult me. I know exactly what's been happening. She dropped onto the couch, hugging a pillow to her chest as if it could shield her. Please, Andrew, I'm sorry, she sobbed. I never wanted to hurt you. I still love you. It was just a mistake. A mistake? I hissed, furious tears stinging my eyes. A mistake that lasted years? Multiple rendezvous? You humiliated me, made a mockery of our marriage, and risked our family's stability. And what about Daniel? Is he even mine? That question made her flinch violently. He's yours. I promise I wouldn't lie about that. I narrowed my eyes, voice cold. Your promises mean nothing now. I'll get a paternity test. If he's mine, I'll raise him without you. If not, I paused, agony lancing through my chest. Then I'll still find a way to build a happy life. Without you. She wept openly, racked by sobs. Don't do this, we can fix it. Go to counseling. I love you, Andrew. I love our son. I shook my head. Love doesn't stab you in the back for years. Love doesn't relish fooling a trusting spouse. I've spoken to a lawyer. We're getting divorced. I'll push for full custody. I'm leaving nothing to chance. You brought this on yourself. She collapsed onto the floor, fingers tangled in her hair, sobbing unintelligible words. I stood over her. Once I would have comforted her tears. Now I felt only contempt. My voice dropped to a near whisper. Pack your things. I'll have papers ready soon. Don't expect mercy. For a moment, I considered smashing something, raging physically, but I controlled myself. My strength now lay in calm determination. Let her witness this new side of me, colder, sharper, untouchable by her manipulations. I left her there, weeping on the floor, and stepped into the hallway. The house, once brimming with holiday cheer, now felt like a stage set after the show's tragic final. Silent, lifeless. The garlands and lights seemed mocking. I took a deep breath, recalling my father's words and the lawyer's advice. I was doing what had to be done. In the following days, I moved out officially, staying with my parents. The divorce process initiated. My lawyer assured me we had a strong case for custody. With the paternity test pending, I braced for any outcome. Jessica tried calling, leaving messages. I'm sorry. I can't live without you. We can pretend this never happened. Each word fell on a heart that no longer trusted her voice. At night, alone in my old childhood bedroom, I stared at the ceiling. This ordeal had shattered my illusions, but I felt something else growing inside me. Resilience. I realized I'd been too soft, assuming goodness and honesty were enough in a marriage. Now I knew to trust but verify. I would not be blindsided again. When Christmas finally came, it was quiet, a far cry from the planned festivities. I spent it with my parents and my child, Daniel, who was too young to understand the turmoil. I tried to smile for him, placing small wrapped gifts under a simple tree. He laughed as he tore the paper, and for a moment, I tasted something like hope. Maybe once the dust settled, I could give him a stable life, free from lies. The paternity test results would arrive soon. Whatever they revealed, I'd face the truth squarely. If Daniel was mine, I'd love him fiercely as always, a reminder that good things can survive even the darkest betrayal. If not, I'd still find a path forward, forging a future on honesty and self-reliance. I looked at my reflection in the window that Christmas morning, seeing a changed man. My journey was painful, but I sensed it would make me stronger. The betrayal taught me that my happiness does not hinge on another's loyalty. I could rebuild a life of integrity, learning to protect myself and my child from harm. Beyond the snowy lawn and quiet street, the world moved on. So would I.